Hi everyone, I'm Jiun and welcome to my channel Libromer where I talk about books, science fiction, fantasy, a bit of everything, but yeah, mainly about books. And today I come with another wrap-up video for the month of April. I think I didn't read too much, but what I read was good. This time was good. I was reading a couple of I always have problem with the pronunciation in English. Hercules Poirot by Agatha Christie, which I enjoy actually. I have read some books, but sometimes I have some difficulties when I read it in English. But I have found some good books. I read Foundation, Prelude to Foundation by Isaac Asimov. That was the best, one of the best books, I have to say. I know the trilogy of Foundation, it's like the central core of the story, and Prelude is just a prelude. But the story was very good, and I was checking the TV series to understand if there is a connection between the books, and it seems that there are some parts in the TV series that are taken from Prelude of Foundation. So I'm interested in watching the series one day. I don't know when, but it looked interesting, and the book was really good. It's like you're reading and when you want to continue reading and knowing what's going to happen next. I don't know if the next books are kind of continue the story or there are other characters. I don't know, but Prelude to Foundation was a very good book. Then I read Dune. In this case, I read the fourth book, which is let me check here in my computer. The fourth book is God Emperor of Dune. How can I say without spoiling too much? I will try. The fourth book, God Emperor of Dune, it's set in the future, many years in the future. But we're going to have a couple of characters that appear from the previous book. But the story is kind of different in some way. Although we still have these how can I say politic problems or divisions that everyone wants to be the one the leader, you have that, but I would say that in this case it focuses in the characters more than in this idea of controlling the planet or so on. You will have that, but I think the characters give more depth to the story. I cannot say if I like it or not. I think I like the idea of the book or what they try to say in the book, but I think I didn't connect with any character, first of all, and I didn't like the ending. I think it was a good book, at least better than the second. I think it's kind of the continuation of the third book, but because it's in the future, you cannot say that it's just the immediate continuation. But it was a good book, so of course I will continue. Remember, this is my challenge for the year. I want to read all the books in the Dune series. So I reached half the way, and for this month I will be reading Heretics of Dune, the fifth book. I think I forgot to mention this in my plans for April. Yeah, I have to continue reading this book. Oh, and by the way, now that I remember, I reached goal. Yes, I reached goal in my personal 200 books reading challenge. I have read, I reached 60 books. Right now I have read 61. I think I'm lowering the quantity of books that I'm reading per month, which is okay because I'm still on track, but I would like to read a bit more. And what I'm doing, and is listening the audiobook. So in that way, I use the time better. So I reached goal, and I have to continue. Hopefully, which is the next one? I forget. By now, goal, which is good. So I read Foundation. I read, Purdue to Foundation, Dune, and I was reading, and I finished the what's the name in English? His Dark Materials, I think, a trilogy by Philip Pullman, if I'm not wrong. I have to say that okay, I kind of understand why the book or the trilogy is interesting. That's why there is a movie, and there is a TV series. I think the TV series covers the whole series. Trilogy, and yeah, there are many things that are interesting, but I just didn't like the trilogy. First, never connect. I never connected with the characters. I didn't like them. They were not likable for me. I didn't feel portrayed in any characters. All of them were kind of annoying. The girl was annoying. Well, maybe it's my idea, but I felt her like a spoiled girl. Then in the second book, we find this new character. Is a boy. I think it's Will. He did something bad at the beginning of the story, and because of that, he has to kind of run away. But and I didn't like that. And then the story goes on with these two characters, and I think at the end, then there is there is a third character that, in some way, these three characters give the titles for every book, if I'm not wrong. So I felt that it was a mess. I mean, how can I say without spoiling? Okay, there are many worlds in some way. It's a multiverse or a multi-world story. So these characters are traveling from one world to another. So it's like, that part is interesting for me. I like that idea of going to a different world, a parallel world. But it was kind of messy because there are creatures in some worlds that they don't exist in another one, but in the other one there are you have witches, you have angels, you have I don't know, pirates, I think. So it was a mess of worlds and stories and characters. So I couldn't. I just didn't like. It would have been better maybe if it's less of that. I don't know, but in general the story is interesting. I like the concept, but I didn't like the mess of stories and characters, and yeah, it was okay, but in general I didn't enjoy. At least I finished one of the series, or in this case trilogy, that I wanted to read. So one series less from my bucket list. And I think those were the only books. One more. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. What I understand, this book was written more than 100 years ago, or around that. So that's the present time for the story, and then this character in some way travels to the King Arthur's court period of time. How can I say? And then we have this story about these characters traveling and meeting some other people, having some difficulties, and I think the idea was clever. And I always like books about time travel, but I have some difficulties with the language. First of all, even though these books have what's the word, glossary at the end of the book, I have some difficulties with some words, but I still understood the whole plot. And but what I didn't enjoy was this idea of the character wanted to change the world. So just because he comes from the future and he knows more than in the time of, medieval times, or I think this is from the Dark Ages time. I don't remember. My knowledge about history is kind of forgotten, but I think it's from the Dark Ages time. And he wants to change everything. He wants to bring new ideas. I think some were very good, like, I don't know, creating connections, but some were too much advanced in time that I don't know if it was possible to create something like a telephone, for example. So I think it was not realistic in some way. Some ideas were good, but some were like impossible for those times. I don't know how it's possible to create electronical things in those days. Well, that was my idea. Maybe I got it wrong, but yeah, I didn't feel it realistic. And the other thing that I didn't like is that he wanted to change everything, and he considered that everything was bad. He was so against the church, and in some way I understand why he can say that, but at the same time it's like not everything is bad. So maybe I'm wrong, but my feeling is that the author was very against the church, especially the Catholic Church. So I don't know, he was writing against it, and he wants to eradicate it and erase it, and to create a new republic, kind of. So, and we, and again, I understand why he can say that, but again, it didn't feel realistic. So the concept of time traveling was awesome for me. I like it. I think at the end the story went so crazy and kind of unrealistic again that I didn't believe the ending. That's the thing. I didn't believe that something like that could happen. So it became kind of a fantasy book. I don't know. So the ending was not that good for me. As a classic book, I think it's okay. For the time it was written, it was okay, but I don't think that I would reread it again. It was okay, but not that much. And I think those were the only books I read during the month of April. There was one more, no, there were two more that I already mentioned. One, I was starting reading the first book in the Expanse series, Leviathan's Wake. I haven't read that much, but the story, I have read that book before. I mean, I started reading, but I never finished. So in some way, I know the story, but now I'm reading a bit more, and yeah, I like the book. But I didn't finish in April, but at the beginning of May, I read the first book in the Legends of the Condor Heroes, which is called, let me check, A Hero Born. This is a story. This is a classic series, and it's set in the past, in the time of the emperors in China, and the story is very good. It's very entertaining. I think the dialogues are very simple, and it reminds me of any martial art kung fu movie that you can find. Yeah, and I know that there are many TV series since 1980 something, and I'm very interested in watching some of those series. But the book is very good, and well, I want to continue reading this series. So those were the books. I think it was a very, very good month, and hopefully this month of May will be as good as that. So what about you? What you have read? What was the best book you read? I would like to know that. I always enjoy when someone comments, and because it gives me the chance to reply and talk, and I like that. So if you have favorite books, you can write it down in the comment series. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.